Their saving grace so far has been Ayo Dosunmu, and that's almost a blessing in disguise for him because it seems like this kid, whenever he gets more minutes, he just gets better.
All right, well, since you brought up the Bulls, more, let's talk about them briefly because they are the other notable injury news of the week. Less clarity here. LaVine got hurt on Friday at Golden State. He left in the first quarter with a knee injury. He underwent an MRI Saturday morning, which revealed no significant structural damage. He's going to be reassessed early next week, which is when they'll offer a more definitive timetable, but he is not expected to miss significant time. So it doesn't sound like this is a KD thing where he's going to miss like 4 to 6 weeks. What's your read on this? Have you heard anything from anyone who has a better sense of like, we talking 7 days? Are we talking 2 weeks?
I haven't heard exactly. It's just that it shouldn't be too long, which is probably around 5 to 10 games, I imagine. That's just a guess from my side. But when you kind of say that it's along those lines, I think it's to the point where you want to make sure that his knee is fully healthy. Sure. Apparently, I think it was Casey Johnson who had this from NBC Sports, that he's had over the course of his career some swelling in his knee because of the ACL tear he suffered early in his career. Right. And that was part of it. It's been like an ongoing issue for years, and then something just kind of bucked him here. He had some swelling. He had the MRI. Nothing substantial was found. So I just think they want to be very, very safe going into this. So if they deem, okay, 5 games is enough, sure, that's probably the course ahead. And after 5 games, they might go, well, let's see. Maybe if they aren't fully satisfied, they'll take it on a game-by-game basis. I don't anticipate him missing a lot of time, like 25, 30 games or any of that sort. But even if he does miss 10 games, it's still a significant chunk of the season. It's not an unsubstantial amount of games missed where everything else has to go to like DeMar, and now Lonzo is out as well. So it's the Bulls are really, really short right now. They don't have anyone. That's also why they're on a 4-game losing streak. No, they lost 4 out of 5. Yeah. Lost 4 out of 5.
Well, let me read you their next couple games: at Memphis on Monday, home against Cleveland Wednesday, at Milwaukee Friday. So if LaVine is out for this entire week, it very well could be a 6-game losing streak.
It could be. And then, I mean, they're going to Orlando, and then afterwards they're going to OKC. Those 2 games should be wins, even if LaVine isn't back. But, I mean, this is brutal. What you want to see is like Alex Caruso come back, and like Lonzo's knee getting better to the point where he's only missing a few games and he gets back. Javante maybe as well, but his time schedule is weird. That's 2 to 4, and I don't remember reading any update on it, so I don't think he's on. I don't know if he's on schedule or not. But they need bodies at this point. They just need bodies. Their saving grace so far has been Ayo Dosunmu, and that's almost a blessing in disguise for him because it seems like this kid, whenever he gets more minutes, he just gets better. Like he has been just outstanding. And if you don't watch Chicago with high regularity, you would be going, man, looking at his stat line, like that's nothing serious. He's good. I mean, he is really, really good. He has understood, like he's already understood. I need to play off of certain guys this way. Like he's taking open shots. He's filling the lane. He is just such a high character guy who has a good shot selection, has a very strong IQ on the court. Love to watch him play. So I think that's gonna help him as well. Like as he transitions into the later stages of this season, preparing for the playoffs, it could be a good thing ultimately that when they go into the playoffs, that they have this like the depth of the bench have significant experience on the court, as opposed to we go down, nobody's played more than 3 minutes in the entire season. Like the end of the bench in Chicago have had plenty of experience this year.
That's fair. So how do you think, like, let's say he's out 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just again, we don't know. I'm just throwing that out there as a potential timetable, and let you know, like as you said, there after this tough stretch this week,
right?
Orlando, OKC, home against Toronto, at San Antonio, home against Portland, home against Orlando, at Toronto, at Indiana. Like, most of those are going to be winnable games. Toronto's been playing well lately, so those are going to be tough. But like Portland without Dame, Orlando, like those should be winnable. So
correct.
You know, I'm guessing they'll go. Like, they'll be able to stay somewhat afloat even in LaVine's absence. But do you see this affecting their stance heading into the trade deadline, especially now in the wake of KD's injury, where, you know, maybe we're more worried about the Nets chasing you down for that number 1 seed, and now, you know, you figure they're probably going to slip a little bit too.
No, I don't think this changes anything. I mean, it would have changed something if Zach had gone down with like a brutal injury. Which he didn't. That would have changed stuff up. But given that this seems like the organization usually plays it a little bit vague when they do injury updates, and given that they basically came out and said, well, like, we don't anticipate him missing a lot of time, like, then you know it's not going to be a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So that shouldn't change anything. In fact, I still think they should go all in. I don't think that picture has changed at all. I also, and this is ridiculous maybe, but I also think now at some point, like, the tide has to turn, because they have just had so many injuries that I'm thinking maybe when the playoffs roll around, they could actually all be healthy. Like, no COVID, no injuries. And if Pat is being traded for like a Harrison Barnes or Jeremy Grant or whatever, then you might actually be entering the playoffs with a full deck of available bodies. That would be interesting.
Don't.
Yeah.
Especially this season.
I mean, yeah, right? God. I don't even have a number of how many games that they've missed so far, but it is substantial.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the health and safety protocol stuff, like, knock on wood, I think we are through the worst of that for the NBA.
Yes.
Especially now that they shortened the quarantine time and everything. Like, we're not going to go through what we had in December again. But yeah, I mean, it just adds such a fascinating wrinkle to the trade deadline in general, not just for the Bulls, but like, how many teams really have a good read on what they are this year? Like, I think Phoenix and Golden State do. And I think Milwaukee does, just because of last year, and they have continuity, and like, could argue the same for Brooklyn. Like, Chicago knows it's pretty good, but like, again, you know, the Sixers have won 9 of their last 10, but how meaningful are those games, or how meaningful is anything that happened in December? Like, we're looking at records and we're looking at like team statistics, and it's like, should we just throw all of this out the window? Do we know as much as we think we do this season?
It's a really good question. I think the Bulls are confident in understanding who they are, because they know their core guys. Like, they know who DeRozan is. They know who Zach is because he's been there forever. They also, it's like, remember the new managerial team, they had all of last year as well. Like, they didn't come in before this season. They came in before last season. So this is their second year in charge. So they know all about Zach. They know all about Vooch. Individually, they understand what these guys can do. I think they've seen enough. Let's throw Lonzo in there as well, to the point where they understand how that foursome at least works. It's about adding that fifth piece. They also know how the defense looks with a healthy Caruso. They got a surprise in Javonte Green, and I think after 29 games, it's fair to say, yeah, he's no fluke. He was really that good. And you can also say about Ayo, like, coming in, nobody thought Ayo would play a whole lot. Like, we all kind of assumed that he would be playing scrap minutes, and I think the Bulls did too, in all honesty. And now he's playing 20 minutes a game because of all the injuries, and has done remarkably well. So they basically found guys in the fringes of the roster who could compete. So I think this just adds a level of knowledge to, okay, who are we as a team? Well, we know that we can actually apply this next man up mentality, because this has been proven over and over and over again. Like, hell, they gave Alfonso McKinney a guaranteed contract for the season, because they understood that when he came in, he played a brand of basketball that, yeah, they deemed sustainable. So will they make moves around the margin of the roster? Yeah, I think they'd probably move someone like Troy Brown. I think they are definitely open to a Patrick Williams trade. That wouldn't shock me at all. But like, I think they know who their core is for sure. So I don't think they're going to go in any type of like identity crisis, if that's what you're asking.
No, I wasn't suggesting about the Bulls in particular. That's just more of like an overall question for the league. But
I think most teams know, right? I mean, like the teams that don't know is probably like the Knicks or the Hawks, like teams that are struggling, teams who came in with expectations rather, who are struggling. Those are the teams that I think they just have no clue who they are. Yeah.
And I mean, I would argue like even Denver, just because of the injuries, like we don't know how good they can be. The Clippers, but no, I think what we were talking about earlier with the Hawks, like them not having a hierarchy. Yeah, the Bulls very clearly do. So they do have an identity. They do know what they are. And you're right. Like the silver lining to all of the injuries and all the health and safety protocol stuff over the last month is it's given a lot of guys who would have otherwise been buried, given them an opportunity to pop and, establish themselves in the rotation. And that's only going to be more valuable once you get deeper into the season or get into the playoffs. It's like, yeah, of course, the Bulls are going to rely on DeMar and Zach and Lonzo and Vooch and Caruso. Like that's who they're rocking with. But you're going to need a game where a Javonte Green bails you out for one quarter, where Ayo hits a couple big shots, at the beginning of the fourth quarter or something like that. And knowing that they've had those reps and that experience during the regular season is only going to be more valuable.
Right.
I mean, you could make the same argument both ways going back to the Nets for a minute. Like, okay, their non-superstar guys are getting plenty of reps, so that's great. And to Steve Nash's credit, he's just throwing weird lineups out. Like he just is, it's what you should do if you're that you're going to be a playoff team. Like that, experiment away in the regular season. That is the entire point of the regular season.
Wasn't it last week that Cam Thomas hit that game winner against the Spurs?
Yeah.
Like, that's a rookie. That's a second. Oh, I was about to say second round rookie. That's not true. He's a late first.
It's 28th, 27th.
27th. Okay, I have it here. 27th. Coming in and closing out a game, right?
Yeah.
Man. He's good, by the way. I know you were knocking his 3-point shooting, but don't get it twisted. This dude is good. I know. The 3-point shooting is going to come. It's just a matter of getting acclimated.
Yeah, he's got like that scorer swag. Like especially being around those guys, like he's got up into something.